and do that part first, and then get that out of the way, and then do, part 1 next or part 3 next. But once you enter into any of those parts, the timer starts, and you'll only have the time designated. So, for instance, part 1, you're going to have 30 minutes. So if you log in to do that, you'll have 30 minutes to complete it. So you have to get it done in 30 minutes. If you decide to do part 2 first, if you do them in order, just remember, once you log into any of these, the timer is going to start, and it will time you out once that time has expired. So I thought that might be easier for you. That way you don't have to do them all 3 hours in one day. If you want to, you can do that, if that's what you've planned. But you can do them over a course of a few days, as long as they're done within this window of time, this 25th to the 29th. Okay? Any questions about that? Okay, so today and next week, what we'll do is the first half of this lecture will be covering some content from chapter 12. After the break, we'll just be reviewing content. Okay, so I want to review from chapters 1 through 11, and then next week we'll review, after we've covered content for chapters 13 and 14, we'll review content from 12 through 14 again, just to get you prepared for your exam. Okay, any questions on that? Okay, I see a couple of people probably logged in after I explained it, but good. I see a lot of thumbs up. That's good. And then, so good. So I'll come back to that, if necessary. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and. All right. So instrument design. So there's a lot in this chapter. But we'll cover a lot, as much as we can here today in this first hour. Okay, so a measurement instrument is a sequence list of questions or measurement activities crafted using various scale options. So we talked about scales, complete with an introduction, section or activity transitions, instructions, and a conclusion. So that is the format for your measurement instrument, and it's whatever instrument you decide is adequate for the research that you're doing. Okay, so it says down here, it says, think of the process of instrument design as similar to playing with a jigsaw puzzle. You first organize the pieces before you attempt to put it together to see the picture it represents. So you kind of look at it. Sometimes you have the box, right? But I think you get the analogy that they're trying to draw here. Some puzzle enthusiasts approach the pieces strategically. They organize the pieces based on color, blue, red, green, patterns, or solid, part of a phase, part of a building, the shape, straight edges versus curved edges, etc. If you've ever done crossword puzzles, I think you probably, but not crossword, but the jigsaw puzzles, you probably can kind of get this visual that they're trying to give you here. They might start with sections, constructing the corners or a particular image within the puzzle. As they work to solve the puzzle, they might be working on several of these smaller puzzle sections at the same time. Okay, so just kind of get this image. This is how you're constructing your measurement instrument, right? So your instrument design, you're kind of putting it together like you would do this puzzle. We have more people coming in, so good. Okay, so for some puzzle building is a collaborative process. So they work in groups, right? A group of people works on it together. Collaboration might help find a missing piece in a section. We talked about this last week as well, but good review. Okay, so All right, so this is gather and sort the pieces. This is in phase 2 of that diagram that we just looked at. Okay, the creation of a survey question is not a haphazard or arbitrary process. So we just talked about that, right? In the slide before that diagram. This is meticulous, and Schindler gave us that example of the jigsaw puzzle. Each piece is important, and we need to make sure that their piece goes where it needs to go in order to arrive at this finished product that we want. So whether you create, borrow, or license a question, you generate specific measurement questions considering subject content, the wording of each question influenced by the degree or degree of disguise, and the need to provide operational definitions for constructs and concepts, and response strategy, each producing a different level of data as needed for your preliminary analysis plan. So it doesn't matter whether you're creating your own or you're using an existing instrument. You need to make sure that it generates specific measurement questions considering the subject content and the wording of each question. And we talked about this too, right? We even watched a video that talked about how important that is, the semantics in the question. It can change the meaning and the results that you're going to get just by the way you word that question. And it says here, a measurement instrument needs 3 categories of measurement questions and several non-question elements. And then the 3 categories are administrative questions, classification questions, and target questions. So those are the 3 categories of measurement questions that that instrument has to have. And then the non-question elements. So let's go ahead and look at that. So this is the instrument design in phase 2. So measurement question, again, we have the reiteration, the pretest, and revise as needed. And then so we have the administrative questions. So this talks about the type of format you would have there, target questions, and classification questions, the demographics, economic, social, economic, and then the measurement instrument is the result of this measurement instrument component. Okay, so let's look at administrative questions. Okay, any questions before I move on to that? Anyone have any questions about that diagram? Okay, so let's get into this. Administrative questions identify the participant, interviewer, interview or research activity location, and the research conditions. So researchers assign each participant a unique identification number. This becomes their case number in a data file. Okay. It might also be the number that is used by the participant to access a computer-based survey. So that's to, of course, creating a number makes it easier for to do the quantitative, analysis in the quantitative measurement. But also, it does help with some, anonymity, right? So that you're not focused on this individual's name and get distracted by that. So it does serve several purposes to do that. Administrative questions often contain contact information used later for follow-up and clarification, an address, email address, or phone number. Okay, so good. So that's all the administrative stuff that is important and critical when you're creating that. This is all part of that instrument design. And then interviewers are assigned unique identification numbers. Information about their gender, age, and ethnicity might be collected when the survey is conducted in person or by phone. Okay, so that's important. So the person doing the interview, the persons doing the interviews, their information is also collected. And that's, I think that's probably self-explanatory, right? You need to be able to contact them if you have a question about the data that they've collected. Okay, so depending on study methodology, interview location might include city, type of environment, for example, mall, theme park, sports arena, location within the environment, whether the study is conducted inside or outside, and the methodology: phone, personal interview, mobile or phone, self-administered survey, etc. Okay, and then here on 4, research conditions include such items as day of week, time of day, weather, congestion level, other events or situations occurring at the time of the survey, distractions, etc. So that's important, right? So we talked about some of these environmental things that could affect how respondents are responding to the survey questions, right? So that's interesting that they would include it. Turner includes it here because if you keep track of that, then you can go back and say and kind of take into account that, okay, these individuals were they took this survey in these conditions versus these other who were in this condition, and that may have impacted how they responded to the survey questions. Okay, so yes,
Yes, Professor. I cannot see any presentation.
you can. Oh, okay. Hold on. That does happen for some reason when people log in after I've started. So let me go ahead.
It appears now. Thank you.
So let me stop, and then I'll start the presentation again. Okay. All right. Is everyone seeing the presentation? Well, let's give it a chance here. It'll start up in a second there.
It appears now.
It appears, but your voice disappeared, Professor.
Okay. Now, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. So I tried to refresh the screen and it completely logged me out. I had to log back in. And is everyone seeing the presentation now?
Yes, clear. Yes.
Okay, good. Very good. All right. Yeah, that does happen. I'm so sorry about that. Okay, so okay, then let's go ahead and go back a little bit here since you weren't seeing the presentation. So I went through this gather and sort the pieces, and it talks about, we went through the analogy of the, or let's go back here. We went through the analogy of the playing with the jigsaw puzzle and how each piece is important and different people approach the process differently. It's not everyone approaches the research process the same, but there are steps and phases that we have to follow, but you might have a different approach to it. So some work alone and some will work with individuals. So, and this is already in Moodle, this presentation. So if you need to review that, please do. And of course, if you have any questions, speak up here as well. Okay. And then we just reviewed this again. And this is something that we reviewed last week as well. Okay. All right. And then we talked about these are the 3 categories that of measurement questions that are important for a measurement instrument. And this is administrative, classification, and target. And then they have this other category that talks about non-question elements, and we're going to get into that in a minute. Okay. All right. Okay. Any questions here? Did you need me to go back? Everyone okay to this point? Okay. All right. And here's this diagram. And here's the measurement question categories. Okay. All right. And classification questions here will be demographics, economic, sociological, geographic. Okay. And target questions or topics. And administrative questions. And we're going to cover all of these in detail. Okay. And any questions here on this diagram? Okay. All right. Okay, so that brings us back to this page, and this is where we were. So it talks about administrative questions, and it says they identify the participant, the interviewer, the interview or research activity location, and the research conditions. And so I've highlighted, just some key points here. Researchers assign participants a unique identification number. This becomes their case number in a data file. Okay, and this number could also be used by the participant to access the computer-based survey. Okay, so that's okay, and then administrative questions often contain contact information used later for follow-up clarification. So that's good. So good. So and then interviewers also are assigned unique identification numbers, information about their age, their gender, age, and ethnicity might be collected when a survey is conducted in person or two by phone. Okay, so that's important to know there, because you might need to follow up with them to kind of ask why how this data was collected, and then get to some of the conditions that we'll talk about in step 4 here in a second. But that's important too. If you're working with a group of individuals who are doing your research for you, it's important to be able to follow up with those who are conducting the interviews. Okay, there may be something that's not right with the data, or the data's something's missing, and you need to follow up with them. Okay, and then depending on the study methodology, interview location might include city, type of environment, and it talks about the different types of environmentalism, a mall, theme park, sports arenas, different things like that. And then whether the study is conducted inside or outside. Okay, and again, the methodology, phone, personal interview, mobile, or computer self-administered survey. Okay, and then research conditions include such items as day of week, time of day, weather, congestion level, other events or situations occurring at the time of the survey, distractions in other things like that. So that's important to be able to note that and to record that, because it could impact the way the participants are responding to the survey questions. Okay, so down here, I highlighted this paragraph here as well. It says, not all administrative questions are asked, but all are recorded. So that's interesting, right? You didn't ask him, why would you want to record them? They are necessary to study patterns within the data and identify possible error sources. So you may go back and look, oh, I didn't ask this, but this was a possibility. So this may be what is causing this error. Um, so that's why you would go ahead and record those, even if you didn't ask. Okay, and free response to open-ended questions may be the most efficient way to structure many of these questions. But dichotomous choice, multiple choice, or checklist questions may also be used. So, and then we kind of went into that a little bit, as well as some of the videos that we viewed, right? They talk about these open-ended questions because you're going to get more information back. But again, we talked about that all depends on the size of the population that you're studying and the participants of your survey. If we have several hundred or a couple of thousand, then the open-ended question probably is not going to work so well because you wouldn't have enough time or resources to go through those. It would be like looking at several thousand essays, if you will, so a short essay. So, okay, any questions on this? There's a lot there, I know. Okay, nice. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the next one. So classification questions. Okay, so this is that next category. Classification questions allow participants' responses to target questions to be grouped so that patterns are revealed. Patterns are revealed, can be studied and tested, and insights can be discovered. Okay, so classification questions allow participants' responses to target questions. Okay, so and we're going to talk about target questions here in a minute. So, classification questions cover demographic, economic, geographic, and sociological variables. So this is where you get into some specifics about the population in your research study, and where this is relevant. This is very important. These classification questions are critical where you need that information. So you need to make sure that they are worded in a way that they're going to collect the data that you're going to need. So the topics covered by such questions include age, education, family composition, marital status, income, employment status and type of employment, social class, ethnicity, language, political affiliation, etc. So you want to cover as much as you can when you're looking at the demographics in a study. So you collect as much data as you can. So you want to really look at that. And this is an important one to test and pre-test, because you'll be able to tell by the responses that you get in that pre-test whether or not you've covered everything in that question. If it's worded correctly, if you have all of the components that are going to yield the best data results for that. Okay. Sometimes such questions may ask for sensitive information and may seem intrusive or unnecessary to a participant. So researchers are careful to explain how they are used. So for sure, right now, someone's going to say, employment status or type of employment, or your education, your family composition. That could be personal, very personal, right? Political affiliation. Some people are very, hesitant to reveal that. So it's important that you are careful to explain how it's going to be used. All right. So you want to maintain that integrity and trustworthiness with those participants. Some classification questions when used within the instrument, serve as filtered questions. Okay, so they determine whether a participant is asked one or more questions within a target question topic, or is excluded from answering. So that's interesting, right? That may be necessary to do that. Okay, all right. Any questions on this? It's classification questions. All right. Okay. Good. Very good. All right. Let's go on. So here are the target questions. All right. So, and it's just what it says, right? It's going to zero in on specific areas and topics. So target questions address the investigative questions of a specific study. Okay. Of the three categories of questions, target questions represent the largest number and are the most important. Okay, that's why I put that in red. That's important to remember that. Okay. To facilitate answering a survey, target questions are grouped by topics within an instrument. All right, so that helps not only the participants or the respondents, but it also helps the researcher, right? Because you can go back and look at those topics and then gather that information accordingly. So it helps you to stay organized, just like you would do any header or topic when you're doing any kind of a study. Okay, so based on the research objective, any hypotheses being tested and the investigative questions, the researcher determines the topics to be covered in their instrument, the number of topics to be covered, instrument scope, okay, and the number of and breadth of questions needed in each group instrument coverage. So instrument scope and instrument coverage are how they're defining this. Okay. Any questions on this? This target questions. Okay. All right. So let's look at the non-question elements. All right. So non-question elements includes introduction, any transitions, instructions, and a conclusion. All right. The measurement instruments should accomplish the following: encourage an individual to participate. So that's important, right? You want to engage them. And this is done in various ways. Who can think of some different ways you might encourage someone to participate in your survey? What are some of the things that we might do to encourage an individual to participate? We've discussed them in this class. Someone want to give us an example?
We could indicate that this survey, how this will be beneficiary for the participant, like surveys inside the workplace. This survey, your participation is very important because it will enhance the condition of work inside this organization, and also to encourage them. This all it will be secret. Your answers and the survey will be confidential. There is no any consideration to be afraid to this information will be known by your manager or something like that. So it will be confidential. That also will encourage them to participate, and it's a part of the non-question element inside the survey.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you. So, did everyone get that? Do you understand what Muhammad was saying? That we can encourage them by telling them that, yeah, very good. Thank you. Muhammad, let's see, he got that. So good. So you tell them that it's going to benefit them. For example, it might lead to more financial compensation, right, for the employees. The results of this research study, So good, which actually might be the case in most cases, because the reason why the company is conducting the research study is because they want to improve their processes, right? Improved processes mean generating more profits, and so good. So very, very good. Yes, Muhammad, yourself.
Yeah, I totally agree with Muhammad in his answer, because sometimes if the customer, or let's say the employee, or whoever you are interviewing
Mm-hmm.
or surveying, if they don't understand the process of the survey, if they don't understand that the information will be confidential,
Mm-hmm.
they will not answer the questions honestly. So the answer will be different if they know that the response will be anonymous, for example. And I have a very clear example of this in some surveys, like connections questions. Uh, it will ask you to rate your manager ability to take work-related decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how you rate your manager skills. If the employee is not very confident that those answers are not shared with his manager by his ID, let's say. So of course it will be shared with his manager. So the results, but they will not share the names of employees who answered those questions.
Mm-hmm.
It might give the manager the level. So let's say that this manager has 100 direct reports. It will tell him that in those 100 direct reports, 70%, let's say, is level 1, 30% are level 3. Okay, and that's it. They will never share the exact information about the employee. So if the the employee knows for sure that those information are not shared, will 100% answer the question honestly. But if they have any doubt, the answer will be different, or they will rather no answer. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Yep. Yes, that's absolutely true. People want to, they don't want to feel threatened when they're doing surveys. So very good, very good. Thank you for that explanation. So it says the next one says to help establish and maintain rapport with the participant. So what do they mean by rapport? What do you think they're saying that to maintain this rapport with the participant? I mean, is that even always possible? So in rapport, and when you have a rapport with, it's a relationship where two individuals have this trust, between them, and you know that you can depend on them. You trust them. You have an open dialogue, and you feel safe in communicating. So it's a very productive dichotomy between individuals. This rapport, and then it's open, and you have access to each other to give and receive information and data. So that's okay. So that is important. Encourage a participant to provide accurate responses. So that's wow. I mean, how would you even do that? That you hope that they'll give you accurate responses. How could we encourage a participant to provide accurate responses? we would hope that everyone would have integrity, right, when they're doing these surveys. But as we talked about in the previous lecture, sometimes they don't have enough information about the topic, but they feel that they are, obligated to provide some answer, and so they don't think of themselves as being having, a lack of integrity. In fact, it might be the complete opposite. Yes, Mohammed Yusuf.
I think one important aspect will be building like trust with the people, because if they don't think that their answer will make a change or will make difference, they will never answer in integrity. So let's say I'm surveying them for the number 10 times, and they don't think a process change or a policy change will happen if they answer those questions honestly. So what is the point? So I think, first of all, there should be a level of trust between the uh, research designer or the company or whoever and the people who are responding to this survey. So if they don't trust the organizer of this survey, they will never answer it like honestly.
Yeah, that's very good. Yeah. Yes, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, very good. That's excellent. Encourage participants to provide an adequate amount of information, and I think we talked about that. The closed-ended versus open-ended questions. So that can be one way to do that. Another way would be just to, provide more, more semantics, more information in the question, so that it covers everything that you want. In the case of the classification questions and how it gathers demographics, we want to make sure we have everything in there that we need. Okay, because if you don't include it, they're not going to offer it. Okay, that's one thing that you'll discover very quickly, is that people will give you what you ask for and nothing more. Okay, sometimes less, but nothing more. Discourage a participant from refusing to answer specific questions. That can be really tricky, right? So there's, and we talked about that again, going back to the classification questions, your family dynamic, composition, even your age. Some people don't even want to talk about their age, and we talk about political affiliation. So it says to discourage the participant from refusing to answer specific questions. While that is a very tricky one, I'm not really sure how effective you can be in that, other than what Muhammad said and Muhammad Yusuf have offered us so far, as to try to encourage them by building this trust, and again, having established that rapport with them. So yes, Muhammad Asad.
I think also the timing for doing the survey is very important. If we want to collect accurate data, and there is no any precautions from the employees or the participant, I think the timing is very important to be like not in time of downsizing, for example. The participant and the employee feeling already they are threatened, and they afraid that their answer will affect their staying inside the organization or not. So I think this will affect the accuracy of the information they try to add to the survey. So I think the timing for this time, I need some thinking before doing this survey this time.
That's very good. That's very good, and it could also extend beyond the organization, right? Just looking at what's going on within the industry, because people stay very informed, right, about their industry or what's going on with and stock investments or other things that might impact the industry that they're in. So that's very good. That's excellent. Very, very good. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I'll move on. Discourage a participant from early discontinuation of participation. So that's that definitely happens. It's I think one way to discourage that is just by not making the survey super duper long, right? Because as we mentioned before, people have a certain amount of attention span, and you're going to lose them if you don't give them, this bite size, if you will, information that they can digest quickly. People are busy too; they have schedules, and they're just not going to sit there and take a 1 hour or 2 hour survey. It's not going to happen. That's unless you've provided some real serious incentive, in the form of something, a gift or cash or whatever. People will not stay engaged for the survey for very long. They just won't do it. So leave the participant with a positive attitude about survey participation. And I think that goes back to some of the comments that Muhammad Yusuf and Muhammad Asad have shared here too. You want them to have a positive attitude about their survey participation, so that they can see the benefit. They can see the bigger picture, if you will, about the survey. Okay, and I think you have to see. Okay, let's try to crunch this in before we time out. I have to go on break. So the non-question elements. All right. So we have our pre-tested measurement questions grouped by classification, target, and administrative questions. And we've pre-tested the target topics for appropriate scope and coverage. Okay, so now we need the elements that begin and end the instrument and build rapport and quality. So rapport has been studied and researched as a result and as behaviors. For example, rapport is described as creating respondent motivation, generating freely given and adequate answers, but also as a relationship characterized by agreement, mutual understanding, or empathy that makes communication possible or easy, or as harmonious or accord or relation that fosters cooperation, communication, or trust. Okay, so that's a much more eloquent way of just defining that rapport than what I gave you earlier. So this is very good. So Similar does an excellent job with that. Most researchers approach the building of rapport as a necessary function of the instrument. Without rapport, motivation to participate and to complete an instrument declines. So that was also covered in the responses and information that was shared by Muhammad Asad and Muhammad Yusuf. So good. So that's very important there, right? You just need to establish that rapport, and because it's going to determine the level of participation that you have with your survey. Phase 2 is focused on elements that can, 1, enhance rapport with the participant by making it easier, less stressful, or more enjoyable to complete the survey process, and 2, ensure high quality results by providing elements that make thorough and accurate responses possible by diminishing motivation to discontinue the survey process. So we talked about that, right? That's so important. We want to keep them engaged. These elements are the introduction, transitions, that's important, instructions for the interviewer, okay, instructions for the participant, if applicable, and the conclusion. So very good. That's those are very very important. Okay. We'll be coming up on a yes, Mohammed. Yes.
I have a point here. I don't know if it is out of context, but I think also over communicating with the people you are surveying might give a negative impact on your survey results.
Mhm.
And I have an example here if we have time
Yeah.
for this. So one of the main categories of the connection scores I mentioned before is the SLI. SLI is a Safety Leadership Index. And at some point, the results we were receiving from the employees were not representing the actual
Okay.
situation on the floor.
Hi, Mohammed. This is going to end the call, so we'll pick it up after the break. Okay. Okay. While they're doing some upgrades with our Microsoft account for Windsor. So when we went to break, Mohammed, Yusuf, you were giving us some a good summary there. So please, I can continue with what you were.
Yeah, I was trying to say that sometimes over communicating the survey with the people you are surveying might give a negative impact on the end results. And my example was about SLI, which is a survey, like a monthly survey sent to the associates, asking them about their safety in their workplace. And some of the questions will be like, do you feel you work in a safe workplace? So when it's busy at your site, my leadership team will take necessary actions to make us safe. Those kind of questions. And in one of the peak seasons, the results were not that good. So there is a benchmark, and if you are below benchmark, you will start getting some feedback from the regional and the organization.
Mhm.
So what's happening? So one of the senior leadership team came with an idea to individually communicate with the associates, explaining to them how important is this safety survey and how to encourage them to honestly answer those questions,
Mhm.
and what is the correlation between those answers and the career development for their managers. Okay, so after communicating for a couple of weeks, then the next step was to individually meet with the informal leaders. So you have ethnic groups, and every group will have an informal leader. So to understand the outcomes of those communications, and imagine what was the outcomes. It came back as those associates now have a better idea that if they want to get a manager fired or to stop his career development, they
Mhm.
will negatively answer those questions. Okay, so this was the outcome, and then we decided to change the approach because you cannot give too much information to the associates that will be used against the main what they call it uh, um, the main purpose of your survey. So that's why I think over communicating might be not a good plan.
Okay. Okay. That's good. Uh, very good. Everyone get that? Was I think that was I think that's good. You know, when you were talking about over communicating, I also thought about how um, a lot of corporations do these opinion surveys or satisfaction surveys for their employees, and I think so they do this a number of times, and I think they do it once, twice a year, sometimes more. Uh, they can um, develop this desensitization, with the employees, so that it doesn't really mean anything to them, because in past um, instances for this survey, there's really been no measurable change, or no nothing really positively, no positive impact for the employees. And so they are, um, I think, a little more reluctant to provide usable answers, and to respond in the way that they would really respond if they felt that those surveys were really having an impact on their workplace, and how they're doing work. So yeah, I think that that's very good. Thank you for that. Anyone else want to comment on that? Okay. Let's look at this. So then I have the flow chart for the instrument design. Okay. So here's a measurement question: instrument design, administrative questions, introduction and screen with participant instructions, questions to qualify participant, target questions, topic A, build interest with first topic, sequence from general to specific within topic. Okay. Transition to topic B, sequence from easy to difficult topics, include skip directions for facilitate sequencing, and and then transition to topic C, build a rapport with buffered questions. All right. Transition to the classification questions, explain, use, and stress the importance. We've talked about that quite a bit. And then in conclusion, with instrument disposition instructions. So, and then you thank your participant. So that's always important, right? They want to know that they've been appreciated for taking their time to participate in your survey. So, so any questions about this diagram here? Okay. I know that a couple of people probably had trouble finding that second link, so I do apologize for that. Again, this entire presentation is already in Moodle. Okay.
Yes, Professor. So I think the link, the updated link sent by email is not the correct link. So I tried to join using the link you sent by email. It's not working. But when I use the link you sent by in WhatsApp, so this one is working.
Yeah. So what happened was, when I created part 2, I tried to just duplicate the one, because you can do that in Zoom, in Teams. Apparently you can't do that in Google Meets, but what it does is it just copies the same link, and it assigns the same time span to that link, that new link, so that it just saw it as 9 a.m. Eastern time, and then it was going to cut us off in an hour, and it's just you can't use this link because that link is already expired. And so I had to create the new link. So it's a learning process for me, for sure, because I haven't used Google Meets in years, and so here we are, having to think outside of the box. So I do appreciate your patience here, and it looks like we definitely did lose a few people. The numbers are down for this second half, so So that's the challenges, right, of technology. For sure.
Professor, I think
Yeah.
are people still waiting.
Okay.
Need your approval to enter.
Okay. Good. Okay. Oh yes. Okay. Thank you. I didn't see those at first. Thank you. Oh, thank you so much for that, Mama Abuela. Okay, good. So we have everyone back now, and good. Yep, you were in the waiting room. So I'll just go back here. Mohammed Yosef gave a great example here of how we could definitely um, exhaust the first one was recording, but it isn't now, unfortunately. Is that? No, it isn't. This app won't allow me to record, and I used a plugin for the last one, but it's not working for this one. Unfortunately, no, it is not recording at this time. So, yeah, that is a that is unfortunate. Okay, but anyway, we're gonna do our best here. Okay, and then first reach out to me if you have any questions. If you feel like you've missed something and it's not in the presentation, because this entire presentation, as I said, is in Moodle. I uploaded it yesterday for you to have access to it, and I do that because I know that things do happen with technology, and or perhaps something may have happened where I couldn't join. So so these notes and I highlight the things that I think are the key takeaways for these sections. Okay. All right. So I do appreciate your patience with this. It is a challenge. Okay. Okay. So here we are at the flow chart for the instrument design. And again, it pretty much just goes over what we covered in those sections that we talked about specifically on these different categories here. Okay. Right. Okay. Okay. Good. All right. So, okay. So again, administrative questions, an introduction and screen with participants instructions. So this screen questions to qualify the participant. So that's important. Maybe it's not someone that you would even have do that particular survey. Yes, Mohammed, I said.
Is this arrangement is a must, or we could make classification questions, for example, after the administrative questions? I think if most of surveys make the classification question in the top of this schedule or arrangement.
Yeah, so that's where this is all of your administrative stuff. So you're saying the classification questions would be towards the top, like that would help you with your administrative questions. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. Yes. Yeah. I guess I just suppose you could. We're going back to Schindler's example with the jigsaw puzzle. Some people they organize the puzzles in different ways, right? And in order to accomplish the task of putting that puzzle together. So yes, absolutely, you could do that. Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very good. Very good. Okay. Any other questions about that? Okay. And I want to leave us enough time to get some review in. today. Okay, I do want to do that. Um, so let's. There's no more questions on here. Let's go ahead and let's do some review. I'll put together this little video that kind of gets you ready and get you. All right, so let's start some review. Hopefully you're feeling a little motivated after watching that. Okay, so we talked about the variable types, okay, and the actions needed for those variables, and then here's a little symbol here, and so mostly everything that we review here will be on the final exam. Okay, so definitely speak up if you have any questions as we start to review some of the topics and concepts that we've covered in the course. So we have here the dependent variable, okay, and then presume effect on the dependent variable relationship, concept, constructive interest, and an action needed. You need to measure that. An independent variable is going to be you're going to manipulate that. So it's something that you can control. Okay. Oops, we have some here. Good. Okay. Good. All right. And then the moderating variable, something you measure. Control variable, ignore, effect is randomized. Okay. And the confounding variable is alternative, independent variable, unknown effect on the dependent variable relationship, and then this is measured. And then intervening variable theoretically might affect can't be determined, infer effect from independent variable and the moderating variable on the dependent variable. So that's so you go back and read this. This is in chapter 1 of the text. So okay, so there might be some questions on that. Any questions on this? The variables. Okay. I mean, basically, you don't have a research study if you don't have variables. Okay, you will have at minimum one independent and one dependent variable when you conduct research. Okay. Okay, so which one of the following is not included in stage 2 in the stage 2 design? The research diagram. So investigative questions, data collection, development, measurement, instrument, sampling design, measurement questions. So let's look at that. So here we go. Okay. So let's go back. Okay. Which one of the following is not included in stage 2? Okay. Anyone want to guess? Okay. Good. Yeah, it is C. Okay. Okay. All right. So let's go here. Okay. So due to the superior nature of probability sampling, businesses prefer it over non-probability sampling. Is that true or false? And remember, just really watch how that's worded, okay? Due to the superior nature of probability sampling, businesses prefer it over non-probability sampling. Is that true or false? Okay, so let's go to this. Okay, so the researcher faces a basic choice in sampling method, a probability sample or non-probability sample. Any discussion of the relative merits of probability versus non-probability sampling clearly shows the technical superiority of the former. Yet, businesses often use non-probability methods. So given that, how would you, yep, yes, exactly, it's false. Okay, that is a false statement. All right, and that's because, yeah, you know, probability versus non-probability sampling, there is a superiority of probability over non-probability, but businesses often use non-probability methods. So the preference is not for probability sampling. Okay. Okay. The qualitative research design has been around much longer than the quantitative methods, mostly used by managers today. Is that true or false? Okay, let's look at this. Okay, so quantitative research methodologies have roots in a variety of disciplines, including anthropology, sociology, psychology, linguistics, communication, economics, and semiotics. Okay, the fact that results cannot be generalized from a qualitative study to a larger target audience, a target population, is considered a fundamental weakness of qualitative research. However, historically, qualitative methodologies have been available much longer, some as early as the 19th century, than the quantitative tools managers rely on so heavily. Okay, so let's go back. And so, given that, then yeah, it is true. Yeah, qualitative is older. Correct. Very, very good. Okay. Okay, so which two options are related to the observation that should be observer presence factor? So that's misworded. That should be observer presence factor. Which two options are related to the observer presence factor? Direct and indirect, event sampling and time sampling, concealment and partial concealment, factual and inferential. So we're looking for these pairs, okay? So there's only going to be one of these. But which pair? Okay, that's correct. It is A. So let's go to. Okay, so what qualifies as a case participation activity? Let's go back here. Event sampling and time sampling. Event sampling, the researcher records that a specific behavior or act occurs. The duration of the observation is determined by when the event begins and ends. And then time sampling, the choice of cases is based on some time interval. So it's event sampling and that. Sorry, I went to the wrong one, but yeah, it is the direct and indirect. I don't know why I didn't have that slide in there, but the answer is correct here. It is direct and indirect for observations, direct and indirect. So, and I didn't follow up with the correct slide there. So sorry about that, but yeah, that is the correct answer. With time sampling, the duration of the observation is determined by when the act begins and ends. And I think I just probably gave that away. What is this true or false? With time sampling, the duration of the observation is determined by when the act begins and ends. True or false here? Correct. That is false, right? Because that is actually the definition for event sampling, and which is in this slide here. So event sampling. Okay. And there it is. Event sampling, the researcher records that a specific behavior or act occurs. The duration of the observation is determined by when the act begins and ends. Okay. So there you go. Event sampling, not time sampling. So that would be false. Okay. All right. So which of the following is the type of evidence that a researcher seeks in testing a causal hypothesis? Is it A, the covariation between variables A and B? Time order of events, does A occur before B? Or is it C, no other causes of B? Or is it all of the above? Which of the following is a type of evidence that a researcher seeks in testing a causal hypothesis? A, B, C, or is it D? Correct. Yeah, it's all of the above. Okay, so let's look at that. Okay, so here they are. In testing a causal hypothesis, we seek three types of evidence: covariation between A and B, time order of events moving in the hypothesized direction, and then no other possible causes of B. So that is correct. That was that's all of the above. Okay, because it's all three. Okay, so all this here. Okay, so this is going to be filling in the blanks. We can collect data by blank and blank, and this is the best choice because there's always going to be several possibilities. But based on Chapter 9 readings, what would you say? Communication and design, observation and investigation, research and development, observation and communication. Okay. We collect data by observation or communication. So absolutely, you got that right. That is B. Okay. I'm sorry, it's D. Yeah, yeah. Observation and communication. Yeah. Yeah. Observation and communication. D, not B. Okay. All right. Okay. Good. Good. All right. Here's another one. Fill in the blank. Businesses are interested in measuring concepts and constructs by their blank, but their blank are what we actually measure. I think you'll probably get this one. Businesses are interested in measuring concepts and constructs, but their blank are what we actually measure. And what did I say just a few minutes ago? Yes, very good. It is A, variables, right? So yeah, yep. Well, the stand-ins are the variables. Yep, very good. So let's go ahead and look at that. Okay, to measure is to discover the extent, dimensions, quantity, and capacity of something, especially by comparison with a standard. Okay, and then down here in red, businesses are interested in measuring concepts and constructs, but their stand-ins, variables, are what we actually measure. We assign an operational definition to each variable, possibly more than one for construct, that defines it in terms of measurement criteria. Okay. So yeah, so again, that is A. Okay. Okay, so the objective of the instrument design process is the A, B, C, or D? And this is from last week. Correct. It is the measurement instrument. Very good. Okay. All right. The objective of the instrument design process is the measurement instrument, the compilation of measurement questions and non-question elements. All right. There you go. All right. So I'm going to go back here since we had several people who weren't logged in earlier. And let's talk about the format for the final exam again. Okay, so and if you didn't pick up from the review, a good tip is to go back and look at those presentations and those poll everywhere questions. That will help you to be prepared. Okay, it's because that's where that's where part 1 and part 2 are going to come from, those poll everywhere questions, and from discussion. Your essays are going to come from some of the discussion posts, but the multiple choice and true false questions in the fill in the blanks are going to be based on those surveys, those poll questions that we have in the lectures. Okay, so that's a good tip to just go back and look at those. Make sure that you get those okay, get those down, that you're understanding those concepts. And this is definitely an open book. You can go back to the textbook and search through. So just remember, you're going to be timed, and it'll end just like the meeting did in the first half of this. It'll be very much the same. it'll end. As soon as you start it, it will end. So anyway, again, I've broken up the final exam is going to be in 3 different parts, and you can access any of those 3 parts in sequence or out of sequence starting 11:59 p.m. on 8/25. Okay. And so in part 1 is multiple choice, true, false questions, and you have to, once you start, you'll only have 30 minutes to complete it. So think about that before you get started on that. If you want to do part 2 first, you can do that. You have 2 hours to complete those 3 essay questions. And I'm looking for 200 to 400 words in your response. Nothing significant. You're not going to be graded on APA style formatting for this. Just looking for a response that will address the prompt, the question prompt in the survey. And you'll have 2 hours to complete that. And again, it'll time out. And you won't have any second attempts. It's just 1 attempt. And then part 3 is fill in the blanks and matching questions. So you'll that fill in the blanks like we just did, very similar to that. And in the matching, it'll be I'll have a concept and I'll have several different choices, and you'll have to match those the concept with the definition of that concept and an example of that concept there. And that will be 30 minutes to do that. And I won't put more than 10 or 15 in each one of those, because it wouldn't be realistic to put too many of those in there and expect you to do it in 30 minutes. And again, so you can do part 1 on the 25th or the 26th, do part 2 on the 27th, 28th, do part 3 on the 28th, 29th. You can do them over different days. If you want to do all of them together and you have 3 hours to spare and you want to do that together, you can start 1, complete 1, start 2, complete 2, start 3, complete 3, do them in the reverse order, do them in any order you want to. Again, I just thought that this might fit your schedules better, where you don't have that 3 hours to set aside on any given day, but you can set aside 30 minutes, 2 hours, 30 minutes, and spread it out like that. But again, and it all closes on the 29th. Okay, so hopefully you can get it done within that amount of time and over those days. So any questions about that, about the final exam? Okay, good. Good. All right. And is that going to work for everybody? Do you think that's fair to do it that way, to have it in 3 parts?
Yes, it's very good. To take the exam on 3 parts is very good.
Good. I'm glad. Very good.
Yeah, I think this works better for our schedule, Professor, and we really appreciate that. But I have a very small question here. Should we focus on the revision slides, like the last 2 lectures slides, or we should go to the textbook to prepare for the exam?
So everything that we covered in the lectures is what will be on the exam. So I won't put anything. For example, when we went through chapter 11, there's just a ton of content that we just couldn't even include in the lectures. I won't include that on the exam. It wouldn't be fair to do that. We didn't cover it. I didn't focus on it, so I'm not going to cover anything that wasn't in the lectures. Okay, the exam will only cover things that we covered in the lectures. For your own edification, your own education, and building up those skills for research and development, I highly recommend that you read the entire textbook, including chapters 15 and 16, which we won't even cover at all in this course, but the book is excellent. And it's fairly contemporary. It was published last year, so in 2022. So that I think is a great text. The university did an excellent job selecting that text for this course. So I highly recommend that you do read the concept and learn that stuff, but I will not include that on the exam. I just don't, it wouldn't be fair. And because there's just so much, and you can spend a lot of time just trying to study all that content. I'm not going to put you through that. Okay. So go back and look at the presentations that I added in Moodle. And then I would go from there and then go back to the textbook that's relevant to those presentations, those lectures, and then study that. So those are your two resources. Use my lectures as your outline for what you would study for the final exam. Okay, is that clear? Does that answer your question? Okay, good, very good. Okay, so I'm pretty sure this is probably going to turn us off here in about 4 minutes. Okay, so we have time. It's like it's going to let us go to the end of the hour, so I'm happy about that. So let me go ahead and do this. So let's see if we can get some other stuff here. Let's go ahead, stop sharing that for a minute, and then I'm gonna bring up some other content here. Okay. Give me 1 minute. Go to the textbook. I'm trying to bring up the textbook here. Bear with me. Okay. Okay, good. So it looks like it's going to go ahead. Okay. Okay, is everyone seeing the textbook here? This image of the textbook? Okay, good. All right, so I just wanted to go here. Okay, so next week we're going to be going through this content here. All right, chapter 13. We're putting them together, and that'll just be in the first half hour, and then we'll do some review. But I'll just choose some select sections from chapter 13, and I'll do the same with chapter 14. I'll do the same with chapter 14. I'll just go through some, select sections and stuff that I think will help us, and not too much, because we only have a half an hour to do both. So I'm just going to hit on some key concepts here, and I'll decide what those are, and we'll cover those in that first half hour of our lecture next week. Okay, and then for chapters 15 and 16, I'm going to just, from find a good video that will kind of summarize, what Schindler is talking about here. And this won't be on the exam. I just want to give you some introduction to that. So we'll view a video that will give us some of these concepts, kind of summarize it. Okay, by very correlation analysis and some of the other things. So this really gets into the statistics of research and development. So we don't really need to cover that in this course anyway. And then there's chapter 17. I'm not even going to worry about chapter 17. Okay. But yeah, so there's a lot of content in this book. So is this great for you to go back and to study this on your own, after the course on your own time and just it's to just build these skills. I think they're great skills, but we are not covering 15, 16, or 17 in this course. Okay, so let's go ahead and I will stop sharing there. All right, so we're at the end of this lecture. Hopefully you don't have too much anxiety about the exam. Like I said, I try to make it so that it's more manageable for you to be able to do that over the course of that several days, the 25th to the 29th. And I'm not going to include content that wasn't in the lectures. So it's just, I think I would be wasting your time to do that. And the content that I'm grabbing for the lectures, I think is important for you to remember. And I think it's important information to help you build the skills that this course is meant to build, okay, for you in research and development management. So, and that's the focus of the course. Any more questions before we end for today? And again, I apologize. I know it's inconvenient for you for us to be bouncing around on different platforms the way we are, but I really do appreciate your patience, or appreciate your willingness to put up with this inconvenience for the time being. Hopefully everything will be restored for next week, and if not, I figured out that I need to create 2 separate meetings, and can't use the same link. So we learn as we go, right? That's the way it is, and of course they say change is constant, and that is true. All right. I can tell you, I can put your minds at ease. I can tell you that just based on the work that you're doing and the discussions and then the written assignments, I'm not concerned that any of you would not pass that exam with a 75% or higher score. So have confidence in yourselves, okay? I think you're doing quite well in this course. All right. Okay. Any questions? Anything on your mind? Anything that you want me to be sure to review for next week?
Thank you, Professor.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. All right, everyone, have a great week, great day. Be safe
Thank you,
out there.
Professor. Bye.
You're very welcome. Reach out to me if you have any questions, okay? All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.